we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm sure more will trickle in here. Again, thank you to the MAB membership for making the effort to be here this morning. I think it was an absolutely wonderful morning. I looked around the room, and I didn't see anybody just sitting and not talking to somebody, so I'm glad everyone was engaged and in discussions, and we're just delighted to have the opportunity to be able to try to send you more of our talent to work in the industry. For those students that are here, and if you didn't get one of these scholarship application form for MAB, if anybody needs that, I have a couple left. What we'll do is we will have each individual member introduce him or herself, and then after that, we'll kind of open it up to your questions. They're here for you. Anything you want to know about the business or about the industry, especially in terms of careers, they would be more than delighted to help you. So why don't we start here with our president, Scott, and just introduce yourself. And
I'm Scott Bebout. I'm the market manager for the Mississippi Radio Group, and we have stations also involved with stations in Georgia and New Orleans and Arkansas and some other places. So our home office is in Tupelo, where my wife is the general manager and I'm the regional manager. Love Tupelo. Come see us sometime.
I'm Tim Walker, the general manager of WTOK TV and Meridian, the ABC, CW, and My Network TV affiliates.
I'm John Johnson, news director, WTOK TV in Meridian. I've been there for some years now, and I guess it's 29 years.
I'm Dan Modisette, general manager of WLBT. We also have a shared services agreement with the Fox station, WDBD, Fox 40. And I've been there 30 years.
Woodrow Wilkins, assignment editor, WXVT. That's my official title. Unofficially, I'm sort of a jack of all trades. I've been there 6 years.
My name is Tanya Carter. I'm the assistant news director as well as main anchor for WABG Television. I, too, am also a jack of all trades as well. Oh, you got a microphone over there.
My name is Kenan Oliphant. I'm the assistant news director at WLBT WDBD in Jackson, and I have been there a little less than a year.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Lightfoot. I'm the Nightside executive producer at WAPT in Jackson, and I am not a jack of all trades.
My name is Michelle Lowe. I work for WCBI Television in Columbus, Mississippi. I am also a jack of all trades, anchor, producer, reporter, and as of next week, 7 years in the business.
My name is Dave Beach. I'm the news director at WTVA in Tupelo, the NBC, ABC, and Fox station there, and I've been there for almost a year.
My name is Byron Brown. I'm the main anchor at WJTV, Channel 12 in Jackson. I've been there 11 years now.
My name is Chris Davis. I'm the news director for News Mississippi Statewide Radio, and I've been there for about 2 years. I'm also a multimedia journalist and work Morning Drive.
I normally don't need one of these things because I've got like my own built-in microphone, so I'm going to like just kind of hold this down. Anyway, my name is Kevin Russell, and I am the production manager for Tupelo Radio Broadcasting. I oversee KZ 103, Wizard 106, Power 92 Jams, and then we have 2 AM stations as well. And then I'm also on the air on KZ 103, which is afternoon drive time. So jack of all trades, a little bit of everything.
Just one. Okay. I am Lauren McLaughlin. I am the Assistant Director of Promotions and Community Relations at WTVA and WLOV in Tupelo, Mississippi. And I'm also the face of Fox, the Fox affiliate of WLOV.
My name is Stan Allen, and I am the morning talk show host on 92 Jam, Tupelo Urban Radio Broadcasting. I also do middays on 105.3 WACR in Columbus, Mississippi. I also do West Point of View on Fox 27, WLOV out of West Point, Tupelo, Mississippi. And I am a graduate of Ole Miss.
And your children went here, too, right? Your kids went here.
And my son is also about to graduate. My daughter also graduated from Ole Miss.
Okay. Well, just to get things started, I'll ask a question, I'll throw it out, and whoever wants to pick this up can. I'm sitting out in the audience. I'm a student. I'm interested in getting into this business. I've gone almost all the way through the program here at Ole Miss. What should I be doing to make myself employable? What is it I should be focusing on as I think about trying to get a job?
Go ahead, Stan. Go ahead, Stan. You got it? Go ahead.
Well, I guess the first thing you got to do is make yourself, out there. My first thing I did to get into radio, because I've been in radio much longer than I have television. I've been in radio a long time. And the first thing I did was make myself, out there, put myself in front of people, talk to people. You can't be strangers. You got to get into the business. You got the internet. You got to get out there and do things that's going to make people recognize you. And once I did that, I became, a prodigy. And now I don't really have a hard time being recognized, so therefore things are kind of working a lot better. But make sure you get into it and go to places. Don't just call. Go see them. Because, people kind of forget who's on the phone, but they don't forget faces too much.
Which is just another way of saying the jobs are not going to come to you. You have to go out and find them. Anybody else?
Get yourself a really, really good demo tape, whether it's radio or television. Make sure the first 10 seconds really count. News directors are going to be listening and looking for that first 10, 15 seconds. Make sure you give, especially if you're on the radio side, make sure you paint a really good picture right off with your writing. Make sure your writing is really good. Send these demos out to people. Get them to help you. Get them to critique them, and make sure that you get one that you feel really good with. Sending and by the way, you want to put it on YouTube, and you want to put it on SoundCloud. If it's sound, link it. Send emails with the links. That's a much easier way for people to look at your demo and to hear your demo. And you just really remember that whatever you do, you're going to want to grab them in that first 10 to 15 seconds.
Also, just to kind of play off what he just said, I think something that's very important is to have your own website. All right, so if your name's Kevin Russell, go get kevinrussell.com. If it's taken, go get kevinrussell.net, kevinrussell.org. Have your own website and make it look good. Don't make it look cheesy. All right, don't get no glamour shots or no little selfies or anything like that, but get a great photo, and have all your information on there. If you're going to have a resume, put it on there, but also have it where they can download it. If you're going to put some MP3s, have it where they can listen and download. Have all your videos. So therefore, you've got this great package already put together, and most people, they're going to have their iPhone, and they can just pull it up right there on their iPhone and look at it. They can look at it on their iPad, and you've got your own website that's got all your stuff on it. So exactly what he said, the only thing I would do different is just have your own website. And I think that's very important. If you do not, go this afternoon and register your name and get your own name. That's one thing that I would share with you.
I know Dave had something to say, but just to reinforce that point, a student that graduated here a couple of years ago, Allison Krogan, did that, registered AllisonKrogan.com. When she graduated, went to Joplin, Missouri, spent a year there, and now she's in Salt Lake City after 1 year, which is an incredible jump. So she did that same thing. She created her own website with videos, her work, a resume, contact information, headshots. You can go look at it if you want to, I suppose. She spells her last name Kroghan, but that's exactly what you were talking about. She did that, and it worked out great for her.
We actually hired an Ole Miss guy who did that too. Knox Graham. He had his own website and had everything that we needed to see on it.
I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead. I know you've been waiting to talk.
Well, I would hope if you're a senior, you would have completed an internship at a television station. I cannot stress how important it is to intern at a station. Everybody up here knows everybody, and that's how you get your word around about what kind of worker you are, is word of mouth, and you also get exposed to what we do on a daily basis, and you'll find out real quickly if you like working in television or if you don't like working in television. It's not for everybody.
I'm perfectly happy to stand up here and ask questions all day. I don't have a problem with that. But if anyone has a question, please just stand up and we'll be happy to take it. I would like, however, is Joe up here? Or did Joe leave? Oh. Well, I know Lauren's here. Joe and Lauren are two fairly recent graduates who have been through the process within the last couple of years, and maybe they could speak to what you went through, what you had to do, how difficult it was, that kind of thing.
Go ahead, Lauren.
I'm putting you on the spot, Lauren.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Okay. I guess I'll go since you got out of sitting up here. Like Dave said, an internship is crucial. I mean, I'm sure you all know that. It's basically beat into your brain here. Get an internship. And you find out if news is for you. There's other positions in the journalism field other than behind-the-scenes producer or on camera. It's a growing industry. There's, like I said, promotions and community relations. So it's the best of both worlds in my opinion. I work with the news department daily, but I also do kind of a PR basis emphasis. So it's two things at one time. It's something different every day. And through Ole Miss, you know, learning how to have a presence on social media is crucial in this industry. And that's kind of been, you need to have the ability to adapt to new social media sites, to new things, be open to change. So that's something kind of that I struggle with, you know, adapt to change. That would be my big tip. So since you got out, you want to go? You want to give your tip?
I would just say maintain good relationship with your professors, because the job I have right now I got through Professor Winger. So see her after the show, and I'm sure she'll be able to hook you up with something. But they are essentially like your first bosses, and they will they'll be your references, I'm sure, on your applications, your resumes, whatever. So certainly maintain a good relationship with them, because they'll have connections for you.
Can I just follow up with that real quick? That's a really good point that you made. And students, if you're showing up to class when you feel like it, and you're turning work in late or not at all, and one of these people calls me, what do you think I'm going to tell them? You're not going to get a job. The habits you develop in class, believe it or not, are the same habits you carry out into your job. And that means getting your work done. It means getting at work on time, doing what's expected of you, and even doing above and beyond that. And those are the students that are going to get the jobs, not the ones that on a nice Friday afternoon, they skip class to go out and hang out in the Grove. So I don't know if, I'm sure Dr. DuPont and Professor Winger would probably second that, but that's absolutely really, really important. Go ahead, Phil.
That's what it, I hired Lauren, okay, because she came and did an internship with us. She was there every day. She was there when she was supposed to be there. She always had a smile on, and no matter what we asked her to do, she did it, and she did it with a smile, and she didn't complain about anything. I said one day, do you have a video resume? And she said, yeah. I said, let me see it. So I looked at it. Now, it could have been a soft news story. It wasn't a hard news story. It could have been a soft news story. It was a little long for a news story. She shot an interview and put a story together about her grandparents. She shot it in black and white. What does that tell me? That means not only do I have somebody who is a good worker, someone who's willing to do things, but somebody who is thinking up here about difference. How do I make this memorable? How do I make this different? Okay? She put a music bed under it. It was a terrific piece. Right? That's how she got a job. I didn't have a job in news, but I had a job in promotions, and I knew that if I went to her and said to her, which I frequently do, I need a pop, I need a proof of performance, or I need a spot for whatever it is. I don't have to, she doesn't say, okay, well, what do you want me to do? What do you think about it? Just goes and produces one. Okay? So that's how you get a job. You got to have a little bit of imagination. You got to be, you got to come. You got to show up. She knew how to write. Okay? I can't tell you enough. You got to write, and so that's how she got a job. So if you want to know how one person up here got a job, that's how she got a job.
Let me ask one thing. Oh, go ahead, please.
You know, I wanted to dovetail off of what you were saying earlier. You know, this business is mighty small, and every year that I'm in it, it gets smaller and smaller. So your work ethic, who you are, from going to class to your internships, you know, I'm going to be calling folks without you even knowing it, and see who you are, you know, as a person, and what type of work ethic you have. And then that will help me determine if I'm going to hire you or not. You know, along with if you've had an internship and if, what kind of grades you've made and all that other type of stuff. But we definitely check references, the ones that you don't provide, we check them to see what type of person you are.
Talking with Byron and Kevin at lunch about global news gathering in particular, and they both had some really interesting things to say about that. I think
Can I just, before we do that, can I say one thing real quick? You sounded like what Phil was talking about was something I talk about a lot, and that's attitude. And one thing that I kind of tell our students, and feel free to disagree, is that everybody who graduates is kind of at the same skill set. There are some who are higher and some who are lower, but you can teach people skills. What you can't teach is the attitude, the willingness to stay late after work, the willingness to come in when you're not called, the willingness to listen to scanners. And we had a guy here, terrific student named Tony Russell. This is my Tony Russell story. Tony was really, really good student, but he thought he knew everything. And he was really developed a know-it-all attitude. And he got a job in Myrtle Beach. Who said they came from Myrtle Beach? Do you know Tony?
I know Tony.
Yeah. And so you can speak to this. And essentially, they sent him home. He got fired because nobody could work with him. And he learned the hard way, it doesn't matter what you can do so much, it's the attitude you bring to the workplace. A much chastened Tony went to Fort Smith, Arkansas. He's now in Tulsa. So Tony finally figured it out. So, but anyway, that attitude, I think, is kind of what we're talking about, right?
Not only an attitude, you got to be willing to let your feelings get hurt every once in a while. You got to be willing to admit vulnerability. You got to be willing to admit your mistakes. You got to be willing to take criticism. You got to be also willing to criticize yourself. Check your own work. Check it often. Check it every day. Watch your packages when you get home. Listen to your packages if you're on the radio. Listen to your stories. Listen to your casts. You can be your own worst critic. Other people are going to be critics too. And, every now and then it might hurt your feelings, but it's going to help you if you're willing to listen to what the bosses and not just what bosses are saying, but also your audience. For goodness sakes, you work for your boss, but you also, the main people you got to be focused on are the ones that you're serving. And they will give you criticism. They'll give you plenty of it too. And you got to be willing to listen to some of it. You got to be willing to take what's pertinent and put it to work.
I had a student that told me, I don't like your critiques of my work because all you say are bad things. And I thought, we're kind of past the kindergarten point where everybody gets a trophy. You can either do it or you can't. And it's our job to help you understand how to do it better.
As my faculty advisor at OU told me, if you want everybody to like you, you should be a fireman, because everybody loves firemen.
Hold on, do we want to go to Deb's thing now?
I would like it, but maybe.
Or, we'll get to that. Who had a question?
All right, see you later.
I'm doing a terrible job, but I'm not getting paid, so that's probably the reason why. In the back, yeah. Could somebody repeat that? Could repeat the question, please?
I think the question was, the sports broadcasting field is so saturated. How do you separate yourself from everybody else? The answer to that would be able to do more than one thing. And I can tell you this in a story. I had a sports anchor. I worked in Orlando for 7 years, and I had a sports director who could also anchor news. And he could also shoot, and he was a really good writer, and he could also edit. So we were pushing people out. We were having some layoffs, and he decided he was going to try to do a news read for an anchor position. And he got it, and he became a main anchor from a sports anchor. And this guy had been in the business for 20 years. He was comfortable in his zone in sports, but he could do every other job in the newsroom. He would sweep the floor if you asked him to sweep the floor. So the way you want to separate yourself is be able to do more than one thing. You come in the door, you say, hey, I can do sports, but I can write, I can edit, I can shoot, I can go out and do whatever you need me to do. And that's how you can separate yourself from everybody else.
Something Phil said just a minute ago that really I think is a key point is that it's be able to write. And if you want a leg up on over 90% of the people who come out of journalism schools, be able to write visually and be able to do it well, be able to show people and not just tell people. For instance, I was talking to somebody this morning who had a sports demo for me to listen to. And this is one thing that really got me right up front, is that he was telling a story, and he was doing it well. He was talking about the Miami Heat winning a game, and he said LeBron James led the Heat to victory in the last, right as the buzzer was sounding, he hit a three-pointer. And then LeBron James told the journalist afterwards that he wants to be on the Mount Rushmore of basketball. And I said, hold on a minute. That's how you start your story. Just imagine Mount Rushmore. No Thomas Jefferson, no George Washington. Instead, it's Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and now possibly LeBron James. He says he wants to be on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, and maybe this is a good reason. Last night, it was another victory for the Heat, a three-pointer right at the buzzer, and it was LeBron James. Think about capturing an audience with that picture right off. That'll make you a star writer, and it'll make you more than a piece of talking meat, which is about what 90% of the people who come out of the journalism schools and go right into it are when they first start off. I mean, when you first, that's all I was when I was way less than that. I was a piece of talking vegetable. So, I mean, if you want to be more, no, I wouldn't say that. We'll go with roast beef maybe.
You did have a stack of AP awards, don't you?
Well, a few, but I mean, you know, it's after many, many years of learning to be more than a piece of talking meat, and that'll give you a leg up right there. Is learn to write, practice it all the time.
Right here, White Sox fan.
My name is Malcolm Miller. First, I want to say on behalf of NVSU, I pretty much speak for all of us, and we appreciate you all inviting us out to this forum and getting this type of perspective and this type of insight on our communication field. Get a profession in, so we appreciate it. Second, I want to ask, when making a reel for possible job opportunities, what's the specified length of it, and how would you make yourself stand out within this reel?
I would, the length really doesn't matter the length if you don't catch them off the top really fast. I think Chris said it first 10 seconds. I mean, as an assistant news director, I look at dozens and dozens of tapes a day. You want to make sure that you have unique stand-ups in your resume reel, and you want to make sure that you have great stories written very well. I mean, the theme of today is writing, because I got to tell you, I would say maybe 75% of the people resume reels that I look at on a daily basis, you would be surprised how many people talk in 140 characters, what I call, they write in Twitter terms. And it's concerning because the pool goes from this big to about like that. So, you know, making sure that you have a couple of packages in there, some stand-ups so we can see what you look like, how you sound, and that's basically the basics of putting together a reel. You know, I've seen people who start their reels off with packages, and then they do stand-ups at the end. I've seen people who put anchoring in there and stand-ups and packages. I mean, I've always told people, tailor your reel for the job. If you are applying to be a general assignment reporter, I don't want to see anchoring off the top, because the job is for general assignment reporting. So I want to see the way you tell a story of how you put together a package and some stand-ups. If it is an anchor job, then I want to see anchoring off the top. If it is a hybrid job, an anchor reporter, then you intersperse those things in there so we can see you. So there are a bunch of different ways to do it. And I would just say make sure you grab onto a mentor and find somebody to help you put that thing together and get it critiqued over and over and over again.
I want to tell you a couple of things not to do. Last fall, we had 2 positions open simultaneously, so I reviewed well over a dozen demos. And one, I think she has talent, but her demo was entirely interviews with celebrities. She was in California, and she'd gone to some red carpet events. And while they were nice, there was a little bit too much Clint Eastwood, for example, and not enough of her. And when I contacted her, I asked what else you got as far as journalistic skills? Do you have any packages? Do you have any hard news stories? Nothing. So obviously we couldn't use her. And then there was another, to piggyback off of what he just said, whose entire demo was sitting at the anchor desk, sometimes alone reading a story, sometimes with other anchors in a conversational type piece, and not one single story. So if the job you're seeking is to be a reporter or includes being a reporter, we absolutely need to see your writing skills and your ability to produce a package.
I'm just going to add one thing. You've spent 4 years in school. Either you or your parents or somebody's paid a pretty hefty price. And unfortunately, you getting a job could be reduced to somebody like Kenan or somebody else here for 10 or 15 seconds. So don't go shoot your video in a garage or in your bedroom or behind some wall paneling. If you have to, go to a production house, go to a television station or something, spend a little more money. You're already this deep in. Don't cut it short right when you're close to the finish line. Spend some money, spend some time, spend some resources, and get other people to critique it and make sure that you have a dynamic reel, at least the first minute or so in there to catch somebody's attention, to go into this pile instead of the delete pile.
And that's yet another reason to do an internship. Because students who do internships, they will not typically put you on air, but what they'll let you do is you will go out with the reporter and you say, well, can I shoot a stand-up at this story and put my own story together for practice? It's terrific. It's great experience for you. Plus, it's a professional look. It's being shot by a professional videographer. It's got the station logo on it. It just looks 10 times better than anything you could shoot, really, I think, in college. So, again, that's just one more reason to get an internship.
I actually saw one of the tapes with the WLBT where they had produced a newscast during their internship today with one of the students. It's very impressive. I thought the newscast was good.
So one of the things we're doing as a news director, because when we have openings, we get swamped with resumes. We're looking for reasons to exclude you, to put you into the no pile. So if you do not know how to spell my name, if you haven't taken the time to look on our website for what the news director's name is, what kind of reporter are you going to be when you show up at my door? So if you haven't taken that time, you go in the no file. I won't even look at your reel, because you've already told me I'm a sloppy, lazy journalist. So don't do that. Don't find reasons for me to throw your resume out.
And what about the Dear News Director approach?
Again, do your research. I just got an email, a resume from we have an opening for an anchor, weekend anchor reporter. And I just got a resume from a station where I used to be the news director about 6 years ago. Okay, I know the news director that's there. And this person, again, didn't do any research. You know, who the heck are you applying to? Consider your audience. That's what you're supposed to do as journalists. So I replied to this person saying, hey, thanks so much for applying. You know, it's a small world. It's a very small world in television. And you should know who you are applying to before you send out that resume reel. And oh, by the way, say hi to Amanda for me. And I hit reply and send it back to him. And then he sent another email a day later going, oh yeah, so you used to be the news director here. I should have found that out. Yeah, you should have.
Yeah,
So.
Nancy.
If my colleague will let me step in here because I've got a question about interviewing. Is that all right, Deb? Oh, I moved on. Oh, okay.
We are coming back.
Can I piggyback?
It's a circuitous route, and we are coming back.
I was going to.
Yeah, the fireman. I just want to ask this question in the hopes that it will be useful to our students. You've talked about things to do and things not to do. But let me just ask you, in your last hire, if 2 or 3 of you could answer this, in your last hire, there must have been a moment when something clicked. If you could recall what that was, you know, there are a lot of talented people out there. There are a lot of smart people out there. But when you get to the interview, how do you nail it?
Well, let me just say this about interview and the whole interview process. If you get the interview, the first thing you should do is dress for success, head to toe. My father used to always tell me, you know, from the hairline to the shoe shine, you need to be dressed from head to toe, because there's so many people coming to the office thinking they can wear anything, and you're being looked at from head to toe. So you need to come dressed for success. Come for the job you want, not the job that you think it should be. So because everybody is looking at you when you come in for the job interview. So remember that. When you get the interview, just because a news director is interviewing you, he or she is not the only one that's interviewing you. Once that interview is over and they say, well, just go out into the newsroom and mingle, you are still being interviewed. So when you're sitting in that newsroom talking to people, they are still interviewing you. The interview is still in session, because once you leave, the news director goes to everybody else and says, well, what did you think? And so they are assessing you about will you be a good fit for the newsroom? What'd you think about that person? So it's not just what the news director thinks about, what everybody else in the newsroom thinks about you. So if you didn't sit well with everybody else in the newsroom, that may be the reason you didn't get the job. Because you might have hit it with the news director, but everybody else in the newsroom didn't like you. So now you didn't get the job. So remember that you are always on during the whole interview process. So if you get into the newsroom, always be on, dress for success, and be prepared the whole time. And as Dave was saying too, know who you're dealing with. You know, make sure you get the right spelling when you get the interview as well. So be prepared the whole time.
When I applied for my position at WABG, it's actually a funny story. I'm from New York City, born and raised in the Bronx, and I applied for my position, and my news director called me, and she said, Tanya, are you sure you want to come to Mississippi? And I said, why? What's the matter with Mississippi? Because I really did not know that much about this state. And when I took my 26-hour Greyhound bus ride down here to the Magnolia State, the first thing my news director asked me, Tanya, what would you like to do? She thought I wanted to go to Buck's restaurant. She thought I wanted to probably go shopping, see the sights. I said, no, I'd like to go to Martha Campbell's house. And she was so stunned and shocked, because Martha Campbell was a prominent Republican in the community of Greenville who was brutally killed. I wanted to go to her house. I wanted to go see the murder scene. I wanted to go see the crime scene. I wanted to go investigate to find out how come this crime wasn't solved. And she immediately rushed me to the station, because she was like, oh my gosh, we have a talent here. So you need to research. If you are applying for a job, you need to research that community in which you would like to be a part of. A lot of people, they think they can be able to adapt or make an adjustment. For some people, it's very difficult. It's very hard. We have a lot of people from all over the country working at WABG. Some people make it, others do not. But it's so important for you to know the community that you're about to serve, the people who are there. That's very critical and very important, because the fact that if you are the one that they're going to choose to tell the story, well, what do you really know about Greenville, Mississippi, or Jackson, besides the typical everyday minutia of crime, infrastructure, economic development, and things like that? What way can you stand out from the other person who's at the door trying to get that same job?
Well, let me say this. I know everything that we're talking about seems to end toward television now. Everybody in here probably not getting into television. Some of you guys are going into radio, less visual. But the same product and the same thing applies, like the gentleman here saying. You know, you got to dress to impress. Eye contact, and know what you're talking about. And when you sit there and talk, never ask me, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know what you're saying. Because you ain't said it yet. So no, I don't know what you're saying. Understand, I know what I'm saying is not the common way to talk to somebody in English where they know what you're saying. Because they don't. Now, I'm a stepchild to television. I do a television show, but my backbone is in radio. Radio is just as conscious. You got to be just as conscious. You got to be just as up on it, and you got to do it. I do a talk show. I'm not an anchor. An anchor tells you the news. A talk show person tells you the news to give you an opinion. He can't give you an opinion because that's not his job. But so you got to know the difference. And when you approach someone in this side of the media, you got to still be just that sharp. I know the visual is good. You can't come on there looking like something crazy, because they're not going to stack you on television looking crazy. And we're not going to stack you on radio talking crazy. And don't ever, ever ask the man that interview you, you know what I'm saying?
I would also imagine that would go with the list of questions you should not ask, including how much vacation time do I get? And yeah, when can I get off?
Stan, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I will say this, kind of jump around here. Girls, listen, I'm sure if you had a beautiful pedicure and you got beautiful toes and they've got little smiley faces on them, don't come into my office with flip-flops. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, don't come into my office with flip-flops. And we had a girl to come in. Stan, you might remember. This was just a couple of weeks ago. I swear, I probably... But anyway, y'all, she must have took a bath in some perfume. And I'm telling you, now listen, my sense of smell is super strong. I'm a cancer survivor, and I can smell like a mile away. But I was on the end of the building, and I was like, what is that smell? Oh, my gosh. And the closer I got up to the main office, it just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And this person, God bless her, I mean, she must have took like 10 squirts or something, I mean, before she walked in. And literally, I had to leave because I could not breathe. So, again, if you go into an interview, no perfume, because the person that's interviewing you, even if you put just one little squirt, again, because I couldn't breathe. I had to walk out. But anyway, there is something else I would like to add, and I know Scott and Phil will back me on this, and that is, if you're going into TV or radio just to be on TV or just to be on the radio, then you need to find something else to do. All right, this job is not for you. If you're just saying, oh, I want to be on TV, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, this job isn't for you. Right, Scott? You know what I'm saying, Scott?
One of the last people that we hired, what stood out about her was I was at a part of the process where there were basically 5-6 candidates who, based on their resumes and demos, were fairly even. And really, to be quite honest with you, I was afraid that I might have to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo to pick one because they were that close. But as I started calling them to set up a time for interviews, this one, she's from Springfield, Missouri, she cut me off. She says, can I come down and interview in person? I said, sure. And a little bit background, she had done her research. She knew where Greenville is, where it was situated, how close it was to things that she likes. She and her father are avid outdoors people. They love hunting, they love fishing. In fact, one of the stories on her demo had to do with some wildlife exposition she was covering, and she actually did her stand-up with a shotgun. And so the enthusiasm that she had just for coming in to do the interview in person, that impressed me. And then when she got there, not that this counts toward your resume, but it certainly doesn't hurt you, that while she's with us touring the station and meeting everybody, her dad's down at the casino having a good time. So I knew they would be a good fit for the community. And just that one difference, her enthusiasm about coming instead of doing it over the phone like so many of them are done, she wanted to see us. And certainly we welcome that opportunity for her to come see the town, see the station, get to meet everybody. And that helped us seal the deal with that one.
We'll get to that.
One of the things that we, a lot of kids who want to do an internship really don't know what that is, and they really don't know how to get that done.
Okay.
Maybe Michelle, she has interns all the time. I know she has them dragging around after, or somebody.
Yeah, it's just a question about internships and what internships involved. And just by the way, for Ole Miss students, we just this fall are requiring an internship for all broadcast students. So that will be a requirement to graduate. So if anybody wants to talk about internships, please go ahead.
We actually do, WCBI has an intern, and we pay attention to what interns do in our station. And I know that many of you who have gone through internships may not feel like we are paying attention, but we are. And we have had interns who have sat in a corner and not spoken up, and they haven't done anything. But right now we have an intern who is offering to do everything. He's involved. He's thinking about the process. He's putting himself in these scenarios, and he's sticking out to me, just like he would to anybody else on this panel. So when you just land the internship, it does not mean that the process is complete. You have to give it your all 100% of the time during that particular time period. You don't know when an internship could lead to your first job. I know mine did.
As did mine. Like Mr. Sullivan was saying, that's how I got my job. And you know, I love that they're requiring that you do an internship, but just because you're required to do one doesn't mean you do one and you're done. Do more than one. The saying goes, and it's kind of harsh to hear, but it's not about the grades you make, it's about the hands you shake. And that's true. I mean, that's true. I mean, it's who you know in the business. The more connections you make. I did an internship at WLBT, I did an internship at WJTV, I did an internship at WTVA and WLOV. I made those connections, and you have the attitude you're supposed to have. There are going to be some days you wish, like I remember at WLBT, before my junior year, I was like, okay, I'm going to do an internship. 4th of July, my sister's going to the lake. I was like, yeah, let's go. I was like, oh, it's news. They don't close. It's like a hospital and news. They never closed. It's 4th of July, and I'm in the newsroom. Kind of a harsh reality. But I was there, and I did my job, and it paid off. It led me to my first job. So have the attitude you're supposed to have. And another tip that was given to me, we're talking about resume reels and internships. Yeah, those videos are shot. You have great footage by a professional. But take that camera, ask, can I use this camera real quick, and shoot your own footage. And then go back and edit your own footage that you shot. So when you're asked, when someone watches your tape, did you shoot this? So you can answer yes, not, well, I edited it, but this reporter and this videographer shot it. You can say yes, that you shot that, you edited that, you did it all on your own merit. And that's good to say that, and that's good to have that acknowledgement that they can tell that you have those skills and that you're worth the hire.
I would like to add, don't get discouraged. I mean, you know, having an internship is quintessential. It's good to have. I did 2 internships, but I didn't get my first job in television until 3 years out of college. So a lot of times I ask you, what is plan B? Because for me, plan B was working as an automotive intelligence analyst for General Motors in Detroit. But I still had the fire to want to be in television news. So I ended up becoming in Detroit, which is at that time, it was Market 9. I was just a writer, part-time writer, still with a full-time 65-hour-a-week job. And I was going into the television station writing for a newscast. I knew I still wanted to be on air, so then I went off on my off time to put together a resume tape, back then as tapes, so I can send it out to all of these television stations who told me no. I sent out about 300 tapes in the 3-year time frame. It took one person to say yes for me, because the business is so subjective. What I may like, Kevin may not. So, you know, make sure that you persevere, that you stay committed to your goals. And shaking those hands is great. It works every time, but sometimes it does not. But you still have to have that fire. You still got to go out there and want to meet people and talk to them and figure out, you know, what is it that you may be doing or that you're not doing, that you're not landing those jobs. You know, for me, it was my voice. My voice was about 3 octaves higher than it is right now. But no one told me. I didn't know. So, you know, until I got like a vocal coach or something like that, that's when it finally happened. But, you know, it is always something. So, you know, that's my thing, just persevere.
It's also helpful to ask what you'll be doing on your internship. You know, a lot of students try to get an internship. Well, I was at WFAA in Dallas. What did you do? Well, I got coffee and picked up the news director's dry cleaning. You want to be able to go on an internship where you're engaged, where you get to go out, where you get to do things. I would think that'd be important as well.
I worked my intern.
I don't want to be Debbie Downer here on this, but we do make mistakes sometimes, and part of that is going back to talking about your resume reel. You got to be able to back it up. We've talked about impressing us in the first 10 seconds and making sure that it's polished and it's good. But one thing you have to be able to do is do that in the real world. John and I can tell you, we've been fooled by some. You know, we get them, we hire them, and they say, where's the person that was on the reel? And you have to be able to support what you do there. So yes, it's important to polish it. Yes, it's important to look good. But you need to be able to produce at that level. And there's a lot to learn. You're not going to come in and know everything, and we're going to help you, and those people, we do everything we can to make sure that they develop as fast as we can because we have an investment in it. The hiring cost, Dan, help me with this. What it takes to hire a person is very expensive for a business. We can't afford to mess up. So we work with people. We don't give up easily, but every one of these broadcast companies have a 90-day probationary period when you go to work for us. And I think that's something that you need to remember is that if you put that tape together, yes, it needs to look good, but you got to back it up.
Also, don't go into this business thinking that you're going to be knocking out some major cash. All right? Don't be going into thinking you're going to be making like $60,000, $70,000 a year because it's not going to happen.
I do.
You got a raise? We need to talk when we get back to the station. But anyway, I mean, I'm just going to be honest, and Phil, Scott, y'all help me out here. Most of you, when you start out, you're probably going to be making maybe, 25? If that. If you're lucky. All right?
Far too high for us.
Well, said if you're lucky.
No, we had a very good student here, graduated, Mike Slother. When did he? 3 years ago? He did all the right things. He had 3 job offers his spring of his senior year. He ended up taking a job with Raycom in Lubbock, Texas, and as an anchor, fill-in reporter. No, reporter fill-in anchor for $22,500. So I think that's kind of the going starting rate.
But if you think you're going into this making $40,000, $50,000 a year, you know, you're crazy.
Ready to have a roommate.
Absolutely. So just out of curiosity, by a hand of applause, how many of y'all love eating on the dollar menu at McDonald's? All right. You're going to enjoy that for about the next 10 years. All right. Just want to let you know. So, yes.
Ramen noodles.
Absolutely.
One of the other things to remember, and it's what Tim was saying and what others are saying, is that know your business, know what you're doing. Why did you get into this? Why are you going into the broadcast business? We serve a really serious purpose in our community, and that's to inform. It is to look good, but it is to inform about what's going on in your community so that your voters or your citizens can make the proper decisions for their community. That's extremely important. How you dress is important, but we also need to know what dress for success means because it's changed all over the place these days. In some places it may mean one thing, it may mean another. I'm very conservative in my dress. So that's what it means to me in terms of how you look so that you don't create attention to yourself because the story is the important one. But it's extremely important. You can be fooled. And sometimes I start thinking maybe the next thing I need to do is look at the back of the tape, start there as opposed to the front of the tape.
Very good point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think also you have to decide, do you want a job or do you want a career? If you want a job, it's just something you do. If you want a career, you set goals for yourself. And as I was saying, in the beginning, you're not going to make a lot of money at this at all. So you have to decide, where do you want to be the next 5 years? And realize your first job is all about getting experience. And you can't be picky. You want to get that first job and gain some experience. And that's what you should be focused on, getting the experience and whatever that's going to take you. Be portable. Are you willing to move? Are you willing to go anywhere for that first opportunity? If Montana or North Dakota comes calling, will you go to Montana or North Dakota and take that experience and say, that's what you got to consider. Where are you willing to go to get that experience and do it for that first 2 years of your career and then move on? And how portable are you going to be? Because most of us have moved around the country to get where we are and thought nothing of it. And if you're willing to do that, that's what journalism is about. Packing your bags, going to the next gig, and keep on trucking. And if you're willing to do that, then this is what it's about. And making a little bit of money until you get to that next level. And you keep trying, but you got to set goals for yourself. This is where I want to be when I'm in 5 years. This is where I want to be in 10 years. And if you have those game plans, then you can succeed in this business.
I think Mr. Johnson hit on a great philosophical point that everybody that goes into this business needs to have in front of them all the time, and that's that your bosses as much as you serve philosophically your audience. You always need to keep in the back of your mind, or even in the front of your mind, what is going to better serve the audience. What is going to serve the greater good of the community? What will the story do for the audience? Remember that when you're in broadcasting, you're not necessarily just preaching to a giant crowd. Think of yourself as talking to that one individual. And when you think of yourself talking to that one individual, that individual becomes the person you focus on. And so you're thinking, this person is going to the poll tomorrow. This person is going to buy a car. This person is going to Walmart to buy a blender. Is that blender on recall? What do I need to be telling that one person? Because that's what journalism is truly all about. It's not about me and ultimately my next job, that is very important to you as a career, but ultimately, what does the greater good of journalism serve?
So the question that we've been kicking around, what in my mind for my last 2 hires, had a lot of folks come up to me and said, sports, I want to get into sports. Well, I hired a sports anchor back in December. And what set that Andy Lee apart from every other anchor that applied was he also could do weather. He would work Saturday and Sunday mornings doing the weather at the station he was working at in El Paso, Texas, up there in front of the chroma wall, giving the weather forecast. And then he was back there 10 o'clock at night doing sports. So that's what set him apart from everybody else for our sports anchor position. And then I hired a reporter out of James Madison, Jessica Albert. What set her apart from all the other tapes that came in? She used a fill light on all the stories that she went out and shot. One simple little thing that set her apart from every other reporter that applied for that job.
I know one thing we spoke about earlier was attitude, and again, that goes back to getting a job. Have a humbling spirit. Some of the people I come across today, it just bothers me as a journalist to see the fact that many aren't even grateful about even getting a job, getting a foot in the door. I remember when I graduated from college, the mistake I made, I did not get an internship. I didn't even apply because in New York City, I was afraid. I was intimidated. I didn't want to go to NBC at Rockefeller Center. I was like, oh no, I didn't want to do that. And I ended up going into advertising. But then my heart spoke to me, and I went door knocking in New York City. I knocked on every door, knocked on Fox 5. And when I met with the HR person there with my resume, she liked me so much because of my passion and because of my drive and because of my humbling spirit. She had me go upstairs to meet the executive producer of Good Day New York, the #1 morning show in New York. And I met with Mark Lipinski, who I'll never forget. He hired me on the spot. Guess what? At $5 an hour. I went from a 9-to-5 job, probably making $30,000 in advertising, to $5 an hour working on Good Day New York. I went from the 9-to-5 boring job in advertising to actually covering parties, Grammy Award parties, going to the John Gotti trial and things like that too. I was so honored to just have that job. Today, you have a lot of young folks coming out of college. They want to be Oprah. They all care about how they look on television, as one thing I tell the intern we do have at the station. Okay, great. You look wonderful. Now what? What can you actually offer us here at the TV station? Are you willing to really get your hands dirty? Are you willing to work those late hours? Severe weather comes through. Do you know how to work BrandNet? Are you willing to pick up the phones to talk to every school district, daycare, church about closings? That's what you need to be doing, and that's how you need to apply yourself, and that's what you need to offer.
And on Friday night when your shift is over, do you turn off your cell phone or do you hang out and see what else needs to be done? We've got just a couple more minutes. With sincerest apologies, I want to come back to Professor Winger's point. Deb, no, we are coming back. Please, again, if you could
Well, one of the things that's required nowadays is that anytime you go out on a story, not only are we shooting with video, but you're shooting with your phone. If we go out to an 18-wheeler accident, you're required not only to shoot the video with your camera, but with your phone, you have to snap pictures of that accident too, because that picture will be posted on Facebook and Twitter. So you have to pull out your phone, take a picture with your iPhone or your Android, send that back so it can be posted on Facebook and Twitter, as well as take video with your camera that will be used in the newscast. So that is almost standard operating procedure now, that you're using your telephone and your camera to shoot video at all times when you go out on a story, because it's always being sent back. Exactly.
Just to piggyback off that, I'm not a photographer. I don't pretend to be one, but I shoot video every day. Every day I come to work, it's been cold. I've shot weather video. I've shot snow video. I call the station. I say, hey guys, I'm coming in. I got, X amount of clips. Your 12-year-old little brother can become a photographer. We get video from everywhere. And like you said, horizontal, not vertical. I can't tell you how many times we've had people shoot this video, but you shoot it this way, because when we get it, we have bars on it. So we shoot your video this way. Also, social media, we haven't talked about a lot. A lot of people say social media is the future. It's not the future. It's the right now. Our content on social media far surpasses what we do on TV. We break news online. We don't break news on television anymore. We break news on Facebook. We break news on Twitter. We break news even on Instagram, Tumblr. You name it, everybody's on social media. So it is the right now. It is not the future.
And just to kind of wrap up, I'd like to ask Phil if he could say something. You said this either last year or the year before, and I remembered it because it is such good advice. We talk about social media in terms of news gathering, but you were talking about it when you're looking to hire somebody. Do you remember what you said? If you could repeat that, I think that's just such wonderful advice.
Well, anybody up here can give you the same advice. That's not just me. We're going to look at your Facebook account. And we're going to look at your Twitter account, if you have one. And all those pictures that you posted when you were about, just a little bit over, we're going to see those. When you come to work for me or for any of these other people, you are our brand, okay? You are us. You're us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You're not us when you're at home. No, you're still us, okay? If you go to the grocery store or wherever and you look like whatever, that's us, okay? We look that way. So for you guys and gals, all those parties you went to where you was great to take a selfie looking like Miley Cyrus, okay? Get rid of it. And for all you ladies, let me give you this advice. There are lots of dirty people in the world. There's absolutely nothing wrong with any of you, men or women, posting a picture of yourself in a swimsuit. If you're going to be in television news, get rid of it. For two reasons. One is when you're sitting on the desk, you have to be credible. Okay? You have to be. We want people to think of you as that person on the desk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We don't want them to see you in your swimsuit while you're trying to read the news. Okay? You understand? And we have not hired people, all of us, because what was on their Facebook page. Because you are us. I don't care whether you're in radio where we don't see your face, or you're on television, or you're in promotions, or whatever you are us. And how you act and how you dress and how you speak, people associate that with us, with our companies. And we have to have goodwill and we have to have credibility. So what you do on your Facebook page is not private. I don't care how private you make it, we can still see it. Okay? So just remember that.
Okay, thank you. Could I just see a quick show of hands of those who might be able to stay a few extra minutes and talk individually? There are some students who weren't able to come this morning. Get them up there so our students can see. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, I have these scholarship application forms if you're interested. The deadline is May 1. Our thanks, as always, to Phil Sullivan from WTVA and to Scott, the president of the MAB. We cannot thank you guys enough. We sit in the classroom and try to tell them and try to tell them and try to tell them, but to hear it from you, the guys who are doing the hiring and the guys who are out there on the front lines, it's just such a tremendous blessing. We thank you so much. We appreciate you coming here. Whatever we can do to help, let us know. And one more comment?
Yeah, Tanya just reminded me, make sure you have a valid driver's license and no DUIs.
Which is good advice just in general. So thank you so much.